Hi everybody, I'm Alistair Ben and you're watching Expressive Photography. In this video I want to discuss, is this the GFX 100 Mark II, the ultimate landscape photography camera available at the end of 2024? Let's find out. I'd like to start this video by saying, first of all, I'm not sponsored by Fuji and I am not being paid to make this video. So at the end of the day, these are my feelings, and I've held off on making this video for a year because that's how long I've been using the GFX 100 Mark II. I wanted to get quite a lot of shooting behind my belt to really get to the nitty-gritty of whether this is to be expected an incredible camera or not. So just a slight rundown of what we're going to cover in this video. First of all, some of the features that I like about the GFX 100 Mark II, the history I have with the camera, the kit that I use with it in terms of the lenses and other accessories, and then we're going to look at image quality, dynamic range, and just the overall opinion of what I really think about it in terms of how suitable it is for the job at hand. Now, I'm not a particularly techie kind of guy, but just a slight overview of the camera itself. Medium format as opposed to a full frame camera, 102 jumbo juicy megapixels, which as one would expect delivers incredible detailed images. I use three lenses, actually I use four lenses with it. The 45 to 100 that is on the camera at the moment. At the wide end, I use a 20 to 35 millimeter. Another more longer zoom, the 100 to 200. And finally this, the 500mm prime. More of this later on. So the first thing to be aware of with this medium format camera is that the focal lengths that I have just given you don't correspond to their 35mm equivalents. You basically have a reduction in magnification of 0.79. So 100mm is 79mm on the medium format. Likewise, when you have an f5.6 lens, that equates to about f4.5 on medium format. So you have slightly less depth of field than you would have for an equivalent. I've been using this camera for, like I said, about a year now, and I'm just looking at it here. And I don't particularly babysit my cameras. I don't tend to mollycoddle them, and this thing is still immaculate. It's not got a mark on it. It has withstood some fairly inclement weather, rain, sleet, snow, cold, hot, humidity, and I've never had a problem with it. So in terms of its weather sealing and its general robust qualities, it is quite the camera. One of the things I really do love is the removable viewfinder. I tend to carry my camera with the viewfinder off because that extra height tends to not fit in the bag particularly well, so I actually do take it off, mainly because I've got this big chunky Arca Swiss L plate on it, which adds quite a lot of height. So I remove the viewfinder when I am traveling. If I want to quickly take the camera out of the bag, I can of course turn it on and just use the LCD screen at the back, and I do that quite a lot because taking this on and off can be a bit of a faff. If you are going to buy a GFX 100 II, I would strongly recommend buying this little accessory, which is a kind of a little tilt shift or tilt adapter, which allows you to click the viewfinder in there, put that back in, and it allows you to look through the camera at an angle, or if you're shooting in vertical orientation, you can of course do it that way. It can be useful when you're shooting very close to the ground, for example. If it's windy and you don't want to put your tripod up too high, having that option to look through an articulated viewfinder can be really, really helpful. I remember when I first looked at the GFX system when I was switching over from Nikon back in early 2023, I compared the weights of it. And in terms of the weight, yes, it's heavier than a little mirrorless camera, but it's no heavier than a major big old DSLR system. I'm still young enough to lug it around, and I don't really mind that weight. The biggest handicap I felt when I switched from 35mm was the loss of the longer end. I used to shoot a lot with my 80-400 on a full frame sensor, and having a maximum of 160mm or thereabouts felt like a fairly significant downturn. However, when they brought out this beast, the 500 f5.6, which is remarkably light, I suddenly had the equivalent of 400mm at my disposal again. And that has been a game changer for me, to have a long lens again on a medium format system. I can shoot birds with it, I can shoot waves with it, I can shoot distant objects with it. And I'm very much looking forward to getting into the Sahara Desert with it in January. It will come into its own then. Now, of course, whenever we talk about gear, there are two things that most people care most about, and that is image quality and dynamic range. If we jump into DxO Photolab here, we can see a photograph that I actually took yesterday, shooting directly into the rising sun. And this is the raw file. So this is pretty much as shot. And you can see there I've got a tiny amount of clipping in the highlights, which I can obviously just pull back and get rid of those. But if I look at the available shadow detail, and I'm not saying that this is what I would want to use, but you can see there that when we zoom into 100%, even silhouetted against the sun or into the edges there is tons and tons of shadow detail. In this particular shot, I don't need it, but it's there if I want it. Likewise, with the highlights, I can pull that right down and get more shadow highlight detail, but in this image, I want that bright white point. So if I look at this image that I took with the 500mm here, it was actually quite windy when I took this yesterday evening, and I still managed to get a 20-second exposure, and this was quite a long way away. I mean, this is really zoomed in, but the detail that the GFX 100 Mark II actually generates is unbelievable. There is no two ways about it, that those megapixels do make a huge difference, and the combination of incredible amounts of detail and the dynamic range that's available to you in terms of recovering details from both highlights and shadows means that the actual raw files themselves are a true joy to work with. One of the other things that I particularly like about the GFX series, and it's not just the GFXs, but I think the Fuji X series are also the same, is the huge amount of aspect ratios that I can shoot in camera. Natively, the camera is a 4:3 aspect ratio, but in addition to that, I can shoot 3:2, 16:9, 1:1, 65:24, and 5:4. So that gives me quite a lot of creative choices that I can make in camera. As many of you who follow my work know, I have a love of shooting 1:1. I have a love of shooting 65:24. And out here on the Outer Hebrides, and if I just look at some of the quick JPEGs that I took, being able to create slices of the landscape and to create images that are quite spectacular to look at in camera, I think is a way for me to make myself feel really good at the time of shooting. If I wanted to shoot film, and of course I still shoot 1:1 or 6:6 with my Hasselblad, if I wanted to do that and not see the result live, then of course I shoot film. one of the great things about digital is to be able to use these aspect ratios and create all sorts of different aesthetic choices in the field. So the combination of great aspect ratio choice and the full range of Fuji film simulations from Velvia, for those of you who want to do that. Most of these are shot in Reala Ace, which is something that's very lifelike and realistic. But there's all the black and white film simulations, all of the other chrome and sort of nostalgic film types as well. So I've got quite a lot of flexibility and creative choice that I can do at the time of shooting. Now, of course, because I have the raw files here, as soon as I import it into DxO here, I have the full frame raw, and I can come in and make any, I can go straight to a neutral color space, or I can go in and create pretty much any film simulation that I would like. From cyanotypes to you name it, I can make any of those changes that I want. In addition to being a stunning film camera, it is also an incredibly versatile video camera, and I do use it quite a lot to record video in the field just by flicking this quick little switch on here, and I'll shoot 4K video with this camera, and it is exceptional, as one would expect. Neutral color logs, all of that type of thing. So, no heavy processing going on in the camera. And obviously some of the video clips we're looking at here were used with the GFX 100 II at the time. So is there anything I don't like? Not much, to be perfectly honest with you. Now that I have the 500 to cover that long end, I feel as if I have everything that I could possibly want from this camera. I use the case filters, the 82mm and the 95mm filters for the bigger camera, the bigger lens here. But in terms of, is there anything I don't like about it? No. I mean, the raw files are incredible. The quality is incredible. The detail is incredible. The articulated viewfinder is incredible. I'm really struggling right now to think, is there something that I don't like about this camera? Maybe as I get older, it might be a bit heavy, but everyone who sees the files, there's no two ways about it. I think it's fair to say that I haven't used any of the new mirrorless cameras. I haven't used any of the new Nikon or Sony or Canon cameras. I haven't used the Hasselblad top of the range cameras, medium format cameras either. So at the end of the day, my opinion of whether this is the ultimate landscape photography camera or not is a little bit one-sided. However, if you are looking for a change of system, if you're looking to move away from full frame mirrorless cameras, if you're thinking about a medium format camera, I would say the benefits of this system are its incredible detail, its incredible opportunity to show you something on the back of the camera that excites you and gets you energized. I hope you have managed to get to this point in the video. I appreciate it if you have. I'm going to be bringing you lots of content moving forward using this camera system. So check in on future videos to check in on that. If you want a bi-weekly dose of inspiration and some of my tips and tricks, then jump onto our newsletter. I'm going to be putting a lot more time into our newsletter moving forward, and it's a great way of dealing directly with you. I am pulling back from social media these days, so I'm not going to be posting on Instagram and Facebook as often as I have in the past. Maybe the odd story from time to time if I'm going somewhere exciting or doing something exciting. But in terms of moving forward, the YouTube channel and the newsletter and the Expressive Photography website are going to be the places to see my new work, new images, or any new products or books that I have coming as well. Thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it. Jump in, tell me, is there anything that you wish I'd covered with this camera, or indeed why I'm wrong? Always look forward to hearing your feedback. Thank you very much for watching. More again next week. Bye for now.